Kittu, who's the innovation catalyst, social entrepreneur, and a change maker. He's on a mission to help build our nation as an innovation nation and always been an advocate for building for Bharat. Karthik Kittu is currently the Chief Innovation Officer at International Institute of Information Technology, Bangalore. And he's also a Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, London, and National Lead of Youth Civic Engagement, UA and UNICEF. Karthik is an accomplished social entrepreneur and has over 16 years of experience, having worked with many Fortune 100 companies and Infosys, Dimension Data, and KPMG. Before he turned entrepreneur and ran an edtech venture, and then as a serial entrepreneur, he also worked on digitizing the culture for the Generation Z. He represented India on CII startup mission to the United States and was the White House invitee, and also served as a member of the Rotary International Rotaract and Interact Committee for 3 years during 2016 to 2019. He has served Rotaract, the youth wing of Rotary International, for over 20 years, from 2001 to 2021, in various capacities, and was the chartered president of Rotaract South Asia MDIO, leading and mentoring about 50,000 plus volunteers in 2010-2011, and served as the chairman emeritus of the board during 2011 to 2014. He was instrumental in planning the 2017 Atlanta Rotaract Free Convention, the 2018 Toronto Rotaract Free Convention, and 2019 Hamburg Rotaract Free Convention. He also served as a cultural and vocational ambassador to USA as a part of the Rotary Foundation Group Study Exchange Program in 2010-2011. Karthik also represented India at the Commonwealth Asia Alliance of Young Entrepreneurs 2014 Summit in Brunei, and was part of the 2015 CII delegation on cybersecurity to Israel, and also served as a member of the National Cybersecurity Task Force for India from 2015 to 17, as constituted by NASSCOM and DSCI, and envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Karthik has been recognized by the Honorable Governor of Karnataka and Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka for his social entrepreneurship projects and service to the society. He was invited to join the technology team, Karnataka Chief Minister's War Room on COVID-19 on day 3, which is 28 March 2020 of the lockdown in Karnataka. And he has since been the part of the core team that built the COVID-19 karnataka.gov.in portal for our country, for our state. So with this, Mr. Karthik is going to speak about one of the most critical topics as an entrepreneur that you should be aware of, which is leadership in the current times. So I would like to hand this session over to Mr. Karthik.
Thanks.
Over to you, Mr. Karthik.
Thanks, Yogi, and welcome everyone. So today I chose to be on the other side. July 1st is a special day. I'll come to you why. Thanks for joining in, and of course, let's, without further ado, let's do about 30 minutes, and maybe I will just do Q&A for the rest. Well, friends, thank you for joining in. Today, I thought one of the most important things I should cover, what I call, leadership. And leadership truly, if you learn it in the right way, I call it leadership is a gift to yourself to manage your entire life. Has many facets to it. And thanks, Yogi, for that lovely introduction. Dear friends, I can, ignite, and contagious is definitely, all three are good words. The pandemic can be contagious, but also pandemic, things like energy, things like inspiration, and all positive things can be contagious. So take a screenshot of this, and this is homework for you guys. You got to send this back to innovate@iiitb.ac.in. Manoj will send you the email address, but please put in your name, your startup, or the college you are in, why you joined this boot camp, why are you proud of one skill or ability or strength you're proud of, or if you're in college, you're in class so and so, and what you want to become, because of what traits you have, and what's your field or study of work, field, or what is your work, and who is your dream mentor. I'll tell you why this is important. Who is your dream mentor for me is the most important thing. You will see in my slides in the future why. Well, my friends, let's dive into leadership. This is the perfect example of leadership, isn't it? If I can ask a few in the chat window, what is so special about this picture? Well, as I see, love to see some responses of what's so special about this. Definitely, this is leadership, right? The man, the army general in the front. But what do we see there, my friends, with the army general? If you look at closely, he's trying to wade through his army. Isn't that the only thing? Yeah, he's ignorant, he's leading. But look at the horse, my friends. Half of the horse isn't there, right? Just kidding. Lead to show by going first. Well, some people might look at that approach. Let's look at this picture. You dream of a startup and you dream of a team. Which ant number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We see 6 ants from the left hand side. Who do you think is the most important ant? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who do you think is the most important ant in the picture? Come on, let's see some responses. Of course, all of them. Of course, number 6. Wow. Right. Maybe number 2, number 3, which is on top, number 4. Very nice. Topmost, all. Right, my friends. Your startup, your team, definitely, I would say number 2, the upper one balancing both sides. Wow, I'm getting nice answers. But like we said, in a startup which is very nascent, I think all of them matter. But it's the leader. Look at the most tough position. I would say the ant number 2 is sitting from below and holding the weight of his entire team. Right? So, anyways, few things. Being trustworthy is good, and learning to trust others also is good. This facet of leadership, my friends, is very important. You've got to have a couple of A-teamers who are very trustworthy. And you yourself should be disciplined. 4 p.m. is 4 p.m. Maybe the time, right? Again, this picture, I know who's the most important leader here. First row, second row, top row, all seem important. But I would say the man in blue who's below, holding the entire, bunch of people together is quite important. Yes, light blue, perfect. Some of you have nailed it. Friends, as leaders, it's very important that we should know to communicate, right? The art of communication is also being taught. The art of storytelling is coming up in the sessions, but I would say most important trait for all of you is learn to communicate. Today we have too many channels. We have Slack, we have WhatsApp, we have Facebook Messenger, we have emails, but I think we should definitely learn how to communicate. Very important, my friends. As leaders of startups, or when you're students and when you're running social organizations or part of social organizations, your priorities and value system is very important. If you don't stand for a certain set of values that the organization stands for or you have created, you will not be remembered that way. I'll tell you why this is very important in the future, right? We talk of priorities and values because we stand for something there, right? It's very important to look at priorities and values. And never believe in hearsay conversations. As a leader, many people will give you many conversations. You take it in from one ear and you think about it and don't take your decisions based on others' reactions. A leader who is calm and composed, takes all the reactions, puts it into himself, analyzes it, and then gives out a reaction. One of the most important traits of leadership is this. Okay, let's come to the next fun picture. What do you think this picture means? Very easy position to be in. Any comments? What kind of a position is this? Or what's the message that the lady is trying to drive? Any answers? Wow, yes, it shows balance. Perfect. Things made simple. Okay. Balancing very tough positions with a smile. Perfect. Right. Leadership is like having a burner maybe below us. Exactly. Everything that seems simple is not simple, and you can't do everything alone. Yes, of course. Be serene in difficult situations. The lady is definitely in a difficult situation. As a leader or as a startup founder, you'll always be in difficult situations, but you got to be calm and composed and serene. Like, I think last session Isha was talking about looking at your inner self, right? Looking at inner self also is very important. That's what's to be serene. Well, few things. First thing is that you got to have a strong desire to lead and accept it as a responsibility, my friends. As I always say, any position is not power or authority, it's actually a responsibility. And power comes automatically when you perform. And a strong desire to make a change or different but positive. Sorry, I don't want to quote our politicians, but anyway. Leadership comes from your action, not by your title, my friends. So title is monumental. Like, I think a legendary director retired yesterday. We had a series of farewells, but the inspiration lives on for ages, right? So leadership makes you accountable even if you're not at fault. And leadership never comes by title. And leaders take the trust from the followers, right? And leaders get the best ideas from their team, right? The most important thing is, you got to be a team player like the ants, right? And leadership, as I told, comes from continuous communication, and you must always think what others are thinking about your handling of things. Very, very important. Many of them always, sort of think, how would the other person react, right? Very important that you should not bore people by long explanation and unnecessary interference, right? And never say they didn't get back to me or they're getting back to me. Both are equally disastrous steps. Right? I mean, take the initiative. Never wait, for example, for anyone to return the call. You get a call, here it is. And never say that, maybe I thought someone else was taking care of that. Even if it's a small team, big team, and excuses are the roadblocks. Let me tell you that in most of the leadership positions I've held, social, not for profit, I'll come to some, it's not a status or position, or as I said, and someone with a high status or position and no clue on how to lead it. And it's not authority. People will follow you only if you are acting as a leader, and people follow you because of what you do for the organization. They don't follow you just because who you are and what you are. And as I said, all the cups are seen by the leaders as half full. Let me also say that as we always are talking about leadership traits, a leader is only as effective as the team, makes excellence a habit, right? So from day one, if you can't draw inspiration from someone and take all the good facets, right? And leave out the bad ones and always be willing to change, right? If I would say everyone talks about plan A and plan B. In entrepreneurship, there might be plan C and plan D, but I would say there are 26 letters in the alphabet. If there is no plan A, no plan B, no plan C, keep the rest ready. Right? Sorry. So focus on what you need to do. Right? Is attitude everything? Well, if I may ask some of you to post, what do you think? Is attitude everything in leadership? Well, friends, if you think attitude is everything, this is how your attitude should be. Yes, one of the factors. Your knowledge and skills, this is the iceberg, right? The iceberg policy. What's unknown to others is your attitude. And what's known to others is your knowledge and skills. And only if you keep this attitude below the sea level and show yourself above the sea level is where you will achieve perfection. Most important thing is integrity. I always say that anything can be learned, anything can be taught, but integrity should come from within, right? It's the commitment, the passion, and the trust, and the integrity cannot be learned. Let's quickly see a few types of leaders and leadership, which I don't want you maybe to follow, right? This was Charles Jenkins, and for example, as a deserter, take too many projects, no funds, no manpower, no sources, and you fail. Very difficult. Entrepreneurship is the same thing. You might get 100 things, right? I recently was attending a talk by one of my good friends, a past Rotary International director, who said, you know why is Bruce Lee famous? Bruce Lee is famous that he never wanted to practice 10,000 kicks one time, but he wanted to practice that one kick 10,000 times. So that's why people were getting scared to go near Bruce Lee. You shouldn't also be a missionary who asks everyone, trying to please everyone, at the end cannot please anyone and fails in every project. All 5 fingers are not the same, my friends. Every leadership style is different, right? So you can't please everyone. On the journey, you'll have more maybe enemies than friends, but once you make your enemies your friends, that's the art. Who is this man? I know he's quite famous, but what's his leadership style? Adolf Hitler. Exactly. I am the boss, king, dictator. Hitler, right? Dominating, exactly. And make more enemies and achieve less. Yeah. That's pretty difficult stuff to do, right? According to company rules, there can be no innovation, fun, creativity, change. Now run along. Exactly, not ready to listen, right? Well, there's a bureaucrat, meetings in time, minutes, discussion, correspondence, everything on time. And then there are friends or developers who see all capabilities of the people below him and use them for the betterment of the organization. Well, there's even something more better, a benevolent leader who's a mixture of a developer, an autocrat, and does well and creates 4 new leaders. Yeah. He is pragmatic and functions from awareness. But achievers, I want, and we want all of them to be there, right? The only target, come what may, and there's only one goal, as I said, one kick, 10,000 times. And all of you maybe have to end up as executives, right? Which is a mixture of being an achiever, being benevolent, and, taking the organization maybe to greater heights. Let's quickly see some, I think we passed about 15 minutes. Let's quickly see some traits. Alexander was amazing. He led from the front. But what happened? Hitler had much fan following, as I said, but few things lacked. Take the good things, right? He discovered many people's movement. So all these leaders take the good traits. Be a very, very good listener. Former PM Narasimha Rao was a very good listener and acted only when needed. Yeah, and it sounds a little filmy, but Ravan, right? Ravan was one of the biggest administrators. What was the one skill he lacked? He was one of the biggest leaders. He was a king. He was pragmatic. But what did he lack? Any answers? Yeah, I see a couple of them. Humbleness. Yeah, perfect. Lack character. Yeah. And let me say he was on the wrong side of law. Okay, let's look at this picture. Anyone? Compassion. Yes, he lacked. Anyone who can identify the man in this picture? Underestimation. Of course, definitely. Anyone can tell me who the one in the picture is? Oh, wow, nice. Yeah. Many of them, yes, Vikram Sarabhai, APJ, Satish Dhawan. Yeah, indeed. APJ and Vikram Sarabhai. Yeah, that's the answer. Right? Friends, you need both energy and brains. Right? And that's what is leadership all about. And you need to dream. And dream is the one, like you said in the previous picture. If you see APJ there and then he was a president, dream is not what you see in sleep. It's the one thing that does not let you sleep. Right? That's, I think, one of the biggest characters. I think Anurag, you raise your hand, you can type, I think, into the chat box. Let me quickly get further. Smarter. Let's all, as leaders, be smarter. What do we mean by being smarter? Your objectives have to be process oriented, and these lets you know what you're doing and how you do it. And the impact, if you're in a social organization, the impact is very important. It lets you know what the long-term implications of the program and activity will be. Outcomes, you got to have short-term goals for your startups. You know, what is my 6-month goal post? What is my North Star metric? What's my short-term metric, right? And I want you to define a personal goal. You should now, I can't define a personal goal for you. You should properly plan and manage this aspect of developing a personal goal for yourself. Some of you might be motivated by money. Some of you might be motivated by impacting people. Some of you may be motivated by changing lives. It's only you who can definitely look at it. And let's come to our goals. Have specific goals. Who, what, where, when, which, why. These are very important things, like a time frame and where it is to be accomplished, what's the need to be accomplished. Let's take a startup. Who are the ones involved? You and your co-founders, or you and your core team? What is it that needs to be accomplished? What is the problem you guys are solving? Where is it to be accomplished? Do you want to do it here in this country, for another country, specific region? And by when should you do it? And, you know, identify your requirements. And what's the purpose? So if you don't have a purpose to a specific startup, and it should be measurable, right? Establish concrete criteria for the progress, right? And determine if your objects are measurable and how you get it accomplished. Very important. Accountability is very, very important, right? You got to take ownership of your work. As a leader, if something good happens, maybe you give credit to the team. If something doesn't work, you might have to say, sorry, you know, take the onus on yourself. As the leader or as the CEO, you got to be your own appraiser. You will not have anyone to appraise until and unless you appoint a board of director, right? And you got to have a to-do list and study what you accomplished and what you did not. Very important. Daily reviews, weekly reviews, monthly reviews are very important. Let's be result oriented and know the difference. And most importantly, let's remember the purpose and meaning behind our actions, and we learn from failure. And make this enjoyable. Remove those hidden bottlenecks. Learn to relax like the lady I showed you the picture of. Learn to relax even in pressure environments, and switch off when you leave work and switch on your other mode. If you have 3-4 hats to wear, you got to wear that particular hat in that particular place. And let's make it a rewarding journey, of course. Look beyond immediate gains, look for long-term perspectives, and maybe learn to reward yourself. I mean, just kidding, having an ice cream or, you know, whatever you like to do. And, you know, look at a rewarding journey in your startup. In the words of Henry Ford, there is no happiness except in the realization that we have accomplished something, right? Well, my friends, something very important. I want you to maybe take a screenshot and keep. I'll also send you this. For me in life, I've always thought that experiences are most important. You can't sit between 4 walls, or you can't, I know it's pandemic, but before this or after this, you got to learn life from experiences. Classroom can teach you maybe 10%, right? But it's the experiences in life that take you further. It's not maybe a degree, or it's not maybe what you've studied. It's the way you look at life and collect. All I request everyone is collect as many experiences, different experiences in life as possible. I'll show you some examples later, but experiences in life is what they count. These experiences, turn into beliefs, and your beliefs turn into action, and those turn into results. Let's look at the alignment, right? Isn't this a nice alignment, right? Your experiences, your beliefs, your thoughts, and your actions, right? Well, difficult. It should be result oriented. Let's please look at the alignment to be very result oriented and in total alignment. Now, friends, let's spend the next 5 minutes in looking at time management. All of us in India think of something called IST, Indian Standard Time, right? Well, we often talk about not having enough time, and rather than focusing on that and complaining, right? Think how you should utilize the time. Start talking of thinking instead, and instructions, right? Like a mobile phone or WhatsApp. I like it time for everything. Start within 5 minutes of settling up at your desk. Maybe not at work. Many of us in this pandemic, are do work from home, right, or study from home. I'm sure everyone is in their leisure clothes, right? Everyone would be sitting in their morning dress, night dress, shorts, or nowadays we see only our top half, so maybe a shirt and some shorts. Let me tell you, friends, one of the most important things in the morning is to get ready and dress and sit, even in this pandemic time. Every day I've been working from home. Every day I was getting ready like I was working from office, right? And a lot of distractions, and don't let those distractions hit you, and don't procrastinate, right? End your working day college at the fixed time, and of course I put that for road stuff. Don't let work creep or hanging out with friends fill your entire evening, and sleep. Most of us want to look at Netflix series, right? Or anything else. Have a fixed time for looking at Netflix series. It's on-demand video, friends. And social media, schedule some of your updates. You don't have to be there all the time looking at my mobile phone. I said, hey, I got something, right? I want to now look at this. A lot of you want to look at that. Friends, all of us do audits for finances, right? But how many of you have actually audited your time? There are many apps out there which you can use, like I use something from Microsoft called the to-do list, and many timing apps that you should use, right? I actually write it down. I'm still old school. Sometimes I just type it down in my notepad. But take stock of your time in the day. Where are you wasting it? How much time? Nowadays, many phones have these, how much you spend on each app audit, right? Look at that. Look at what drains your time, and look at, how much, where you can cut, right? And limit the things that drain your time and energy. You shouldn't be actually doing things that drain your time and energy, right? Look at the list and look at how often you want to do things past week, past month, and make an audit report, right? Time management, my friends, in a day is very important, especially if you want to run a startup, you want to also network, you want to do sales, you want to look at your tech team. You need to give time to each of these things, and you need to give time to family also, right? And all of us need downtime, my friends. It's called me time, right? So very important, take that me time and try to do something that relaxes your mind. Yeah. And none of us do time estimation. All right. For example, if I'm doing a speech now, I'm maybe looking consciously at time. And if I have to go and talk on stage sometime, I definitely read out my speech a couple of times in front of the mirror to just estimate, am I doing good on time? Right? Try to inculcate all these habits, and try to, not take pressure of working to tight deadlines. If tomorrow is the deadline, try starting working from 1 week. Don't look at it like that. I have to put on the midnight oil. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock is my, I know all of you project submission. And if tomorrow there is a deadline for a startup pitch, tonight at 12 o'clock, 11:57, you guys hit on the submit button, right? That's how it works, right? So don't look at it in that way. And check in with the cycles of nature. See how you're feeling related to sunrise and sunset and the changing of seasons, right? I mean, I think all of us are coming back to these only during pandemic times. Our olden times had defined every 2 months called ritus, and every 2 months there was a change in diet, and there was something called a ekadashi for some followers. Why was that? I mean, it was just to cleanse your system, right? And our forefathers and many of them had put together what to do at what times, and all these were to check the cycles of nature. And this pandemic, my friends, has taught us to slow down, has taught us to check with the cycles of nature and follow the cycles of nature. So, time management is one of the most key important things. Well, the next 10 minutes, I think I'll just give you some snippets of leadership. So, maybe I was born in Germany, not maybe, so I was born in Germany, and we came back in 92, and everyone has this little dream of coming from a village, going to a country, sorry, going to a city and getting out of the country to study. And my story was just exactly the opposite. My dad put me into a small school and said, if you're going to grow up, you will grow up. But I tried to juggle with a lot of things. I did stuff in Rotaract. I also was a traffic warden. I used to work in the industry, and Infosys said, come to interview. I was a BSc graduate then. Only 4 positions were vacant, and about 200 wrote the test. And my principal said, Karthik, you might not never get out of this place with a degree, right? But it so happened that I was one of the few who maybe was in 3rd class. You guys should not follow that. And I wrote the test, and I actually qualified. On the other side were a bunch of people who understood what I did to the society and social work in Rotaract, and maybe give me that job. That was my first job, right in Infosys. Was any mother's dream company, right? And to all the people and all the budding entrepreneurs listening up here, don't get bugged down by anyone, okay? If I may say so. I mean, who's the biggest culprit in one's career? Which person who might pull you down, pull you up? Not your mother, father, or brother. Any guesses on who's always interested in what you're studying and what you're doing? Who might be that one person talking to your mother? Friends? Yeah. Okay. Who else? Think of someone. Some more answers. Relatives. Yeah, relatives also. Perfect. Don't be bothered by them, by the way, if they come and influence your parents. Yep. Yeah, so Manoj knows it. It's your bagal ka gar ka auntie, right? Your next door auntie and your mom's kitty party friends are more interested in your career than yourself, right? Don't let them influence your startup. Don't let them influence your studies, right? On the lighter note, I again worked for a company called Dimension Data, where I used to be an information security architect, and took me to places. I visited many companies. I visited for many Fortune 100 companies. I worked with Google, Apple, built networks, Checkpoint, TNT. Many of these companies I built a rapport with. And of course, I was in the information security audit team at KPMG also. Then I was thinking to myself, I should maybe jump and try to do something. So later got out in 2013, ran an edtech venture, where we wanted to help people to, ignite themselves and live their passion. Right? In India, you need to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer, or a chartered accountant. Otherwise, people think that, oh man, you're not there and you're not arrived, right? So ran an edtech venture. I ran a venture in the culture space called Spiritual Basket, wherein we wanted to digitize Indian culture. Then landed up here at IIIT Bangalore, where I run the innovation center and help all of you. But Rotaract has been most integral in the center, because most of the other things that I did revolved around it. I think Madan in the first session spoke about it. It's running a Rotary club is like running a startup, right? Just because you learn to get to learn with many leaders from top to bottom and vice versa. Some facets of my journey was not very easy in life. Today is a very special day, as I said. It marks 20 years to social entrepreneurship. That's why I wanted to talk about the art of leadership. Um, I started as a member out in Sri Bhavan Mahal Jain College around in Bangalore in 2001. July 1st, June 30th was the day. And after that, most of what I have accomplished grew by leaps and bounds. I used to head the entire Bangalore area. I was the first to lead 50,000 volunteers in South Asia. I went on an exchange program to the United States, and many more things that followed this. So that was a stepping stone, and I was very curious. I wanted to ask questions, and I was behind people. Maybe this is a small sum up. What a leader should do. You got to be a student, a doer, a listener, a dreamer, a mentor, motivator, a volunteer, enabler. And I've met many people around this journey. It's a collage. I will maybe talk about few of the memorable instances that are around. Below on the right, you see my first tryst in the US. That's a FBI car, and on the rightmost, you can see one of those FBI officers who let us drive the car. And also talking at the state of Oregon, that's next to Washington State, in the assembly where the Indian national anthem was sung, because we were state guests. Of course, was a proud moment. Some of these facets is also awarded by the governor of Odisha way back, I think, in 2012 for the yeoman service. Is invited to Bangkok to share how club-sponsored organizations and how we learn from India and beyond. And on the left, you see a picture from Louisiana in the USA, in New Orleans, for one of the awards for Asia I was collecting. So, of course, coming back to this picture was extra special, right? So I was chosen as one of the youth representatives from India. You see the United Nations Coast Guard receiving us with full honors outside the assembly and taking us in, and then giving us a glimpse of the assembly of the state of Oregon and the Indian national anthem sung, and stuff. So some memorable experiences. Of course, as a young kid, I always wanted to achieve something with the youth wing of Rotary, and this is the boardroom of Rotary International on the 18th floor. Maybe only about 90 people get access to it out of 1.2 million people in the world. And I was standing outside one of these halls waving a flag when some of these leaders had arrived in 2003, and I was told that you got to stand outside this hall. So I made up my mind, like I said, that one day I'm going to sit in the hall where these guys take decisions. And happened in 2017. After a 15-year wait, I was sitting inside this hall like this on the chair, and I posted back to some people that, hey, I have arrived finally, right? And about 9 people in the world get to sit here to manage the youth wing. Again, like we said, leader meet leader. I was sitting on the other side 10 years ago, and I was asking questions, but here I was sitting on the dais with the leadership of the world in Rotary, answering questions, right? That was next to International President, who heads the 1.8 million people, and our India director, who heads all the people in India. Fast forward, there was a Yogi told you guys that I was part of the delegation to Israel. It so happened I was the youngest in 2015. Most of the bunch of people you see there was the additional commissioner of police, and the founder of NIIT, and the principal secretary of the home department of Maharashtra, and the chief of IT for the Bombay Stock Exchange, and the officer on special duty, chief minister of the Maharashtra government, and NSE Infotech. And there was a small guy also called Karthik Kittu, who was part of the delegation. And once, if you look at the Israeli delegation, this was directly under the Prime Minister's office and the National Cyber Bureau in Israel, right? So I was invitee there. Once someone had told me that, hey, buddy, you don't know maybe to work on checkpoint devices. And this is how I responded, right? Typical leadership trait. On the left, you see Gil Shwed, the chairman of Checkpoint, which is one of the most valuable companies in the tech space. Below you see the ambassador of India to Israel, who I met at his office. And on the right top corner, you see the security advisor to President Barack Obama, Howard Schmidt, who actually met, and I sent this picture back. So I wanted to meet a few people in my life. As I said, that that homework which I gave you, my dream mentor is, and Gil Shwed and Howard Schmidt figured in that list, and I was able to meet them after a time. And Israel was very advanced. Couple of other pictures. They're looking at digital telepathy. They're looking at sleepwalking and many other things. And this was way back in 2015, right? 6 years ago. And what a paradigm shift. I never got to study at Stanford, but was happy to get onto a startup delegation that represented India and Indian leaders alongside BVR Mohan Reddy, Chris Gopalakrishnan, who was the lead here, and also spoke to them about social entrepreneurship and how a few facets work from India. Happy to address them. So I never went there. I went on a delegation to the Night Management Center, which I consider extra special. And this was at the Indian Embassy in the United States, in Washington. I was just figuring out that, my father or my cousins or anyone else, you just go as an invitee, and many of them say that it's an honor to go and study or be in another country. But, representing your own country in another delegation, I think was extra special. I mean, this was the leadership of the Indian Foreign Service and the ambassador, His Excellency Navtesh Sarna, and the entire team, who hosted us, right? You see the picture, Bharat Ka Rajaduta Dutavas, sorry, the Embassy of India. So fortunate enough to have made a visit inside there and, have actually gone there, right? So working our way up. Joking to Chris Gopalakrishnan once, of course, he's the chairman of IIITB now, but before this, I was an employee at Infosys, I was a contractor at Infosys, and after that, I also set up the TED network when Infosys hosted TED India 2009. And I was telling him that I could just come near your building and I could look at you, and I've always admired you for all your leadership traits and for what you guys have built at Infosys. But this is really, the moment that an Indian company has set up office in the United States in reverse mode, and you get to stand at the Infosys building with one of its most amazing co-founders, right? So that was the moment that I had written down, that once I should be with one of these folks and visit their site in the United States. Happened. All of us use Facebook, right? Was also fortunate to be a special invitee at Facebook and being shown around at one hacker way, right? How things work in Facebook or how things are made. And very, very fortunate that I have gone there and, been there. Of course, most of us are in the technology space, and who doesn't know John Chambers? John Chambers figures amongst the world's 100 most influential people. I think he's a Padma Vibhushan now, and he ran America's most admired company, right? People get to look at him on the Forbes magazine or look at him, here like this. But, long back, I had a couple of Cisco certifications, and I worked very closely with folks in Cisco here. And I was telling them, how do I get to meet John Chambers? Everyone's telling it's very difficult, mate, and some of them even laughed at me. Said, okay, one day in my life I have to meet Gil Shwed, and one day I have to meet John Chambers. These were the two guys I really admired for their leadership. John Chambers is Keith Krach, if you have heard of him in the Valley. Says John Chambers is one of the most inspiring leaders and CEOs, and this is how I got to chat up with him. I actually got to meet John Chambers here, right there in the United States, and talk to him. Was one of the proudest moments that I thought that happened. And if you look at this room, this is the George Washington room. Coming to the last part of maybe my presentation, this is the same very table, my dear friends, that our Honorable Prime Minister was received in the White House. and someone had told me, like, you're not done a degree. I mean, don't worry, you're like, because I don't have an engineering degree, and it's like about 12th standard in my family, because most of them have a master's, or they have a double masters, one here, one in the US, and many of these, but some of them had told me I won't even make it to the United States, right? But there were a couple of people who told me, my cousins, that, hey, look, buddy, you're not going to be there. But fortunate to let everyone know that I made the same cousin drive me inside the White House and tell them, hey, look, you can drive back, ma'am, and he can get down here. So this is the visit to the Dwight Eisenhower Executive Building, where we were shown around. And of course, I was able to express, some views from youth leadership in India. And this sums up all. On the backside, you see the White House, and on the left, you see the flag of the Executive Office of the President of the United States, right? So leadership during COVID times, of course, we were all in testing times, and we had to do that. I was fortunate to have been an invitee on the Chief Minister's War Room on COVID-19, and day 3 of COVID, when March 28, 2020, I remember a day I got a call. I was there. I said I will volunteer. I was on the front line, and I was also part of the team that built the dashboard for the government of Karnataka in 3 days. I mean, I was part of the team that really built this in 3 days, and got it up. Very happy. Also, how we did things. There's a small video that was put together by DD News, and I figured there, talking on behalf of IIITB and the academia and the industry and the cross collaboration with startups. Well, friends, in the end, I know we have reached about 43 minutes. Be sure what you want, focus on your goal, develop a plan for your startup. Very important. Stay on course, and don't let people let you down. Anyone, can be your co-founders, can be your family, can be your place of study. Be strong. Always improve in the areas of fail. Take feedback from people. Anything in your startup, take feedback from different sets of people. And if anyone tells you to change, please change. Don't think you're always right. You can always also be wrong. Look ahead rather than back, and lead life with determination, right? Only if you're determined to achieve something. As I gave you all these examples and these pictures, I only showed you not to make a little booster of myself, but to look at facing bigger challenges and leading life with determination, that when one door closes, one more door opens. And many other pictures and photographs I might have skipped, right? From also meeting the Maharaja of Mysore, when I was told that my grandfather was a cook in the kitchens of Mysore. I mean, I sat next to the Maharaja of Mysore in one of these functions, right? And take courageous decisions. I took a decision now to get out of this country and study further, and maybe, as Yogi said, develop our nation as innovation nation, right? And that's a courageous decision, I think. Many of them thought, I will get out of the country and I will do, but I'm happy to stay around. And as I said, the next courageous decision might be getting back to a village, opening a school and teaching school kids, and teaching the art of leadership in a Gurukul. Miracles happen, of course. Each of those trips, be it to the Commonwealth Asia Alliance of the Young Entrepreneurs, be it to Israel, be it to the United States, I had never even dreamt that I will do all of those. And each of them came as a different blessing. And I remember some of those trips that I did. I lived in 3 or 4 time zones, and got back, was in airports. But of course, as I say, miracles do happen, right? And my friends, on a lighter note, love yourself first before you love anyone else, your parents, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, right? Love yourself. If you don't love yourself, you cannot make it happen, right? Each one of us, each one of you is a positive leader here in India. And I wish you all the success in all the tasks that you take up, right? Thank you for patiently listening, and happy to actually take some questions. Thank you.
Perfect, Mr. Karthik. So I'm just going to quickly look at the Q&A if you have any questions. Okay, there are no questions on the Q&A section. I'm just opening the chat for any questions there. Folks, if you have any questions, please do share it in the chat or the Q&A tab so that we can pick it and then get a lot of insights about this from Mr. Karthik. Cool. Mr. Karthik, on that note, right? So one of the things that you've also spoken about was your own entrepreneurial journey. So as a leader, and most of the students here are working on their own projects and startup ideas, right? So from your perspective, what is the best way that these students can go through to identify and find a co-founder for themselves? That is the first question that I want to lead with.
Okay. Yeah. So identifying a co-founder is, I would say, tricky. But all I can say is don't have two people with the same skills. As I always, unfortunately, talk to many academicians elsewhere, I say 5 engineering students are put into one project. 5 MBA students are put into one project, right? We got to change the facade. Some of these universities like Stanford, Harvard, and everyone, why are they moving ahead? You can take subjects in different skills. I always maybe wanted to study mathematics and carpentry, right? But India never gave us an opportunity, right? So on a lighter note, I would say if you have in college someone from BCom, someone from BBM, someone from BSc, and someone maybe from engineering or core IT, the IT guy will do tech, the BSc guy will do R&D, and the BCom guy will write a financial plan, and the BBM guy will write your your business plan. I always say have complementary skills. If you don't have complementary skills, it's very difficult in a startup. If two techies start a startup, it's good, but you might compete. You might compete with yourself. So instead of that, I would say you should have complementary co-founders with complementary skills. Or if you're from the same stream, you must have complementary skills. Yeah.
Perfect. Mr. Karthik, I want to have a follow-up on the same question.
Sure.
Okay. Say, assume that we found someone who has a complementary skill compared to us, right? Now, what is the best way to convince them to join us, or what is the best way to poach them to join us? In all these startup words, we use poaching,
yeah.
because somewhere they are working somewhere else, and then we just getting them to join our team, right? So how do we do that? And not co-founders, how do we do that even for founding team members, the first set of people that we get on board?
Sell your dream. Someone also has said, please share your startup journey. Just sell your dream. So a couple of your co-founders must be very deep into it, and your A circle, you must just sell your dream. It's not about money for many people. My first startup that I founded was in the education space. It's called Passion Connect. Apart from the co-founders, the core team came from various facets in life, and all I spoke to them was about a dream to change lives, and a dream to help them change others' lives. So any startup idea, the most important thing is actually to make your dream and sell them your dream. And so you must be the best salesman if you are the founder, to sell your dream. Otherwise, you can't poach people, right? Of course, along with it maybe comes equity or comes a pay package. But if you don't have access to that, I would say the first thing is, why did I talk about leadership is, if you only have all these qualities and they see stuff in you, I mean, I might not have had a MS or a PhD or from a big university, but I mean, if you look at all my experiences and the various people I have met and learned from, I mean, that's where when some of them actually said, hey, yes, I'll come with you on this.
Cool. Thanks a lot for giving that clarity, right? Most of us don't know how to even approach people. And at times we are scared of sharing our idea because we think other people will copy the idea.
Yeah, as I think one of the previous speakers also said, see, be bold with your idea. There are 100 people that can copy, but there was only one Flipkart and one Ola, right? And any of these ideas, as I said, I mean, if you work on, you got to have one idea and practice, just be on that idea. It's like Bruce Lee, right? 10,000 times practice the same kick. Don't look at one kick. Don't look at 10,000 kicks one time.
Glad to hear that. Thanks for sharing that, Mr. Karthik. As a follow-up, one of the most critical thing that you said was to have a mentor.
Yep.
So how do we find who's the right mentor for us, and how do we approach them? Say, for example, we identify that, let's just for example, right? For me, I would love to have you as a mentor, right? How would we approach you, and how should we take that conversation forward with the mentor?
See, first of all, as I said, for mentors are driven by many things. Some mentors may be driven by money. Some mentors may be driven by social change. Some mentors may be, driven by equity and investment. So first thing is to identify what you want from the mentor and what is it that drives you. You can have multiple mentors, but your ask should be specific, right? You can't go and say, hey, you know what, I want you to help me with ABC, and it doesn't fall in line. And I would say really study that, right? You got to maybe not only Google or ask a few people and see what are the trades, see what is the time, and see what is the inclination towards a particular cause, and what the weakness is, right? So in the sense, the weakness, in the sense, the affection or affinity towards a particular thing, right? And then you got to approach the mentor, and you got to make persistent efforts. I mean, I can say that, I mean, Professor Sargopan here, when he was here, and when I was young, I mean, I think I met him in 2006. I met him quite a few times. I came here quite a few times. I wanted to call him for a function, but I didn't leave. I was persistent. I came, I think, close to 12, 13 times. He turned up for one of my functions. Very fortunate to have known him, and I draw inspiration from him, though how Ekalavya draws inspiration from Dronacharya. That's how I've maintained my relationship with Professor, and that's how I got here, right? It's the same with, once, for example, Justice Santosh Hegde, whom I wanted to call and talk. I went to his office 18 times, and the 19th time he turned up. So persistence. I mean, any mentor you want, sit on their head, or make sure that you know someone who can get you to that mentor.
Thank you for that, Mr. Karthik. Most of us don't understand the importance and the power of persistence, right? Your story has been a journey of persistence, no matter what the odds are. Glad to hear this. With that, I want to come to a
99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. That's all. That's what I would say, everyone.
Glad to hear that. I know many of us talk about this, but then in terms of implementation, you're seeing it live on your end, right?
Yes.
With that, I'll just go to the next question. Again, this is coming in terms of the leadership and ethics in the leadership. How to keep up your ethics in the leadership role that you're in? How to be honest, and where to be honest, compassionate, or ruthless? Because as a leader, you need to play multiple roles, right? So how do you judge or gauge that this is where I need to be ruthless, or this is where I need to be compassionate, understand? So how do we play around with these facets of leadership?
So many of you have watched the Tamil movie Onion, right? Vikram's movie. So you got to be a mini onion in yourself if you are a startup founder, because you wear multiple hats, right? If you got to be honest about your accounts, for example, or to your investors, you got to be honest, right? And if you got to be compassionate with your employees or the people who you work with, you got to be compassionate. Or if you got to be ruthless, like, for example, I remember running Rotract as a social enterprise. I mean, sometimes I was very ruthless, and many of them know that I'm sometimes a very ruthless leader, because if I want to get the best out of my team, a spade is a spade. 8 a.m. is 8 a.m. 8 a.m. is not 8:01 a.m. Right? So it's very difficult. So I would say it's like two sides. It's on the same coin. It's on two sides. So when you got to be nice to your employees and get some work done, you got to be nice. You got to be compassionate about some grounds. But when you have to get work done, you have to be ruthless. So it's like switching your mindset inside. And I think only that introspection to yourself, is very, very important. That's where you got to control your mind, right? And a lot of them think that, oh, you know what, I've gone to office, I have this job, it's so taxing, and it's very difficult. You come and ask me once, at one point of time in 2019, I think I used to be part of the innovation center, run a startup. I used to head the youth wing of Rotary. That's Chicago time, and couple of trips up and down. I also was in Young Indians with the youth wing of CII in an executive role. Used to, run that. Had a young daughter. Used to try to play with her and take care of that. That's why I wanted to talk to you guys on time management, right? For me, everything is clockwork, and I put most of it in my calendar. Might seem stupid, but in the I still get time. For example, today morning, I mean, amidst all of it, a director was around. I was supposed to look at my daughter's homework. Then she was sitting for a test, right? So you got to bucket all of these. And in leadership, what I would suggest is all of this goes into the small little brain. So you got to give on and off breaks also, right? So you got to learn the art of controlling yourself and your mind, and then only that's the biggest art to leadership, and wearing multiple hats. And even in Rotary, about 3 or 4 committees. I mean, for each committee and each thing, you got to go different things. I mean, that's where I draw inspiration from our director, Professor Sargopan, right? I mean, the number of boards and committees and startups and everything he's on. I always used to ask him, sir, how do you do this? And he gave me one simple answer. Karthik, whichever place you are in, switch on that part in your brain, switch off the other. You go to the next meeting, switch that on and switch it off. Switch the other things off. And that's what I've been trying to follow. So that's my message. Switch on and switch off.
Thanks for sharing that, Mr. Karthik. With that, there's a question from Anurag. I'm going to pick this up because our intention with this bootcamp, I know IIITB's intention with this bootcamp is to figure out how can you help entrepreneurs or potential startups from smaller towns and outside of the tier 1 cities. Yeah. So the question from Anurag is, how can a startup from a small town connect to mentors and investors?
Yeah, so definitely there's a big bunch of people. You heard Madan talking. There's a big bunch of people who want to make this happen. Write to us. Our entire goal is to have the best of mentors connect to smaller towns. And if you don't know, read the newspapers. Madan Padaki and a bunch of people for rural tech have raised $8 million. It's all over the newspapers. I mean, that's most of us want to do that. I mean, write to us. Manoj will give you the email address. And this is one of the Mighty Tide entire series. And all of this is only for us to connect mentors to small towns, right? We don't want to, what do you say? Only this to happen in the big towns. And as I said, many of them already are working on rural tech. Even the big names like Prashant Prakash and others. So happy to do that. Thanks, Neeraj. Anyway, thanks for that comment. And quickly, it's a good idea to have friends who share vision of the startup but not good at the required skills, or convince people with skills to work on the startup. Yes, I would say convince people with skills to work on the startup rather than having friends. I mean, friendship is different and business is different. Please keep it that way. It should be different, right? And
Mr. Karthik, so with that, I want to go to this question
with life's experiences, right?
Sorry.
The art of storytelling comes with life's experiences, and we have a special session on storytelling. Don't worry, you can listen to that. But storytelling also should come from within it. It should come from the heart, I would say. I would tell you. So it should come from the heart. So is it better to work on a startup after full time for a period? Yes, of course. You can decide right after college. If you have the guts to pursue entrepreneurship, please do it. Even if you need them, if you're a little bit, the best time is out of college, because you can switch gears later. But I did it a little later in life. But I would say it's best out of college, right? So I think on that note,
Karthik sir, do we have more time or do we wind up now?
Maybe one more question we can wind up.
Sure. I'll just look through the questions. Just give me a moment.
Sure. So I'm not able to find. Okay. How did you find your values, goals to focus on? I'm not able to find anything to focus on. I haven't found my passion in any industry, but want to do something big. Wow. So there is this calling, or I don't know what you have done. It says anonymous attendee, but you can write to us. You can write an email to us. But how did you find your values and goals to focus on? Well, I always wanted to make a difference to people's lives, and build more leaders. I got inspired by a bunch of leaders and I wanted to build more leaders. So that's where my value system kicked in. And I give you an anecdote from my life. I mean, everyone tries to use their father's name and says, you know, मैं इसका बेटा हूँ, मैं उसका बेटा हूँ, मैं इधर जाना है, ये करना है. And my dad ended up from Germany after 21 years of being there and coming here, and no influence to get a seat. I used to play tennis, table tennis, and a few things there. Couldn't get any opportunities. And then, you know, as I grew, you know, I was curious. I learned. I went to people. I joined the youth wing of Rotary. I joined many other organizations. I was a part of the Federation of Karnataka Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and I built my network. So finally, after a few years, whenever my dad comes there to any function, he says, "Hi, please let me in. My name is Mr. Kittu. I am Karthik's father." Right? So, I mean, build your own values and goals, right? Take inspiration from people. And if you're not found anything, sit and introspect. There are many, you listen to a director, right? Indians solving Indian problems, Indians' problems, many problems to solve, right? In a country like India. So, right, it can be as simple as, you know, making cards, even for many dosa vendors or street vendors out there, right? Someone came to us with the idea of that. And someone said, you know, there are many flower vendors in India. From solar energy, we'll make a cooler, and the flowers can be inside while the solar energy can you know, generate the cooling, right? Innovative things for an innovative India, right? Banana vendors, right? They do push carts. Maybe find something like that. Right? Okay, the last one, maybe in leadership, you lead a team with different mindset, different perspectives. What will you advise to convince all the members of the team to get them into single decision, single perspective, and single objective? So you are the leader, you drive them, and you set the vision. And it's like, you know, a horse, right? Like, I think Isha also spoke about this. Why is the horse put on the two facets? You only look straight. You have only one goal. So many of the times Mark Zuckerberg was told to sell Facebook and rest is history, right? So I would tell it's the same way. Set your eyes and perspectives on one thing. Just go for the goal and do it wholeheartedly. If it happens, everyone will follow you, right? So I would say my single piece of advice is be fixed on one single goal and tell the team to go towards that. That's it.
Perfect, Mr. Karthik. I think I think there are going to be a lot of questions that will keep coming up, especially since the topic of leadership is close to everyone's heart. They want to understand how to start a startup and then lead a whole team, right?
Right.
So all the questions, please, if you have further questions, please do write to innovate@IIITB.ac.in, and then Karthik and Mr. Manoj will take up these questions and see how they can support you with your idea. So when you write these emails, please make sure the email has enough details for them to take action. If it is just vague or does not have enough detail, they also wouldn't know what to do with it. So with that note, I would like to take a moment to thank Mr. Karthik for his fantastic service to the nation, to the youth of the country, and also to the various innovation that's coming up in rural India that he's picking up and trying to mentor and support them. So thank you, Mr. Karthik, for being that innovation catalyst that you've been speaking about, and then picking up these startups and enabling them. Without you, I don't think this whole boot camp would have come to life. Thanks for those things, that initiatives that you've taken up under IIIT.
Thank you guys for listening in. I just thought today was that special day where I completed 20 years of joining you know, one of these civil service organizations, and 17 years, of course, of being in the industry also. So I was telling Yogi that I should do this on this particular day for these two reasons. So I was just opposite. So 17 years ago, I came to the building that was opposite to IIITB, Infosys, and then the rest is history, and I'm almost back on the opposite side. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Karthik. Have a great evening, everyone. See you then.